Okay, we're gonna start with the block under the base of the skull now. You can adjust the block in whatever way feels good at whatever height feels good. And let's start with a gentle rock side to side. So just like you're turning the nose or the chin side to side, whatever amount feels good. Starting to get into those muscles at the base of the skull, the suboccipital muscles. Now you can start doing chin up and down, getting a little cervical flexion and extension. And the block just helps us get a little bit of that myofascial release. So getting into the muscle tissue, the fascia at the back of the neck. And now you can even try to side bend like you're bringing ear to shoulder, if that feels nice. So this is lateral flexion of the neck. Now, as you start to move the head and neck around in any way that feels good on the block, you can start to gently roll the shoulders back, bringing in a little bit more movement to the shoulders and scapula, and that will help to start opening up the tissue of the nape of the neck, which is the area from the base of the skull to the shoulders. Taking a few more moments here to do whatever feels nice. Let's lift the head off the block. And now the block will come between the knees or the thighs for bridge pose. Now check that triple S, base of the skull, some part of the shoulder blades and the sacrum are on the mat. Notice if the neck feels even a little bit different here after just that short amount of time mobilizing on the block. Now keep that gentle hug here between the legs. We're going to push the ground away and lift the spine up one vertebra at a time like we're picking up Velcro, so peeling Velcro up nice and slow. Stay low in your bridge pose. So your shoulder blades, your scapula are definitely going to be on the ground, but maybe even those back ribs, those low back ribs. So low back is long, our pelvis is in that neutral position where those two pelvic points are drawing in. Let's reach the left palm up like we're holding a tray. Take your right fingers and pull back on those left fingers into some wrist extension. Now you can stay here or you can add a little bit more movement for the shoulder blades. By protracting as you wrist stretch, lift the palm up and then down. So shoulder blades protract, they spread away, and then they settle back to the ground. So this is just optional if you want to start mobilizing a little bit more. Everything connects to the neck that we're going to be doing today. Switch hands, right palm up, coming into that wrist extension. Maintain that hug on the block, that push into the feet. Maybe we add that protraction of the shoulder blades here, lifting the palm up closer to the ceiling as you protract the shoulder blade, and then sliding the scapula back into that starting position. Hands come down. Let's take one more breath in. As you exhale, tiptoe the spine down one vertebra at a time until that sacrum touches down. The block will come behind the head now. At the base of the skull, elbows in or up, whatever is tighter toward the head. Now the head is down just like we would have it without the block. Inhale, big breath in. As you exhale, I want you to feel your ribs pull down toward the ground as you lift off the shoulder blades. So the head and the block are coming up together, but you might notice it's a little bit different with the block here. This helps us to not use those neck muscles to lift. We'll inhale and lower the block and the head down. Exhale, feel those front ribs pull in toward the body as you lift up. Now feel your head, the back of your skull, lean back into the block. So the head gets a little heavier, but we try to stay lifted off the shoulder blades. Inhale to lower down. It's a lot to think about. Exhale, feel the front ribs pull in toward the body, lean the skull back as you lift up. So we're lifting off the shoulder blades, but we're trying not to pull on the neck. Inhale to lower. The next time you lift up, we're going to add on. Exhale, feel the ribs pull down, feel the skull lean back as you lift off the shoulder blades. We're really getting into those deep core muscles. We're going to take a side bend. So your left side of the body is going to cinch together or get shorter as we side bend left. Bring it back. Inhale, lower the head. Exhale, feel the ribs pull down, feel the back of the skull lean into the block as you lift off the shoulder blades. Pelvis stays level, and we're going to cinch the right side of the body to shorten it or side bend to the right. Bring it back. Inhale and lower. Exhale, lean the head back, lift up. Like we're knitting those ribs in. We're gonna side bend left. We shorten the left side, like we're cinching the left side of the waist toward each other. Bring it back. Inhale and lower. Exhale, lift. Feel the skull lean back into the block. Feel the ribs pull down. Side bend to the right. Right side of the body gets a little shortened. We bring it back. Inhale and lower down. Okay, remove the block. We're gonna come all the way into a seated position, and we'll do a couple seated things. So if you want to sit on a block or a pillow or anything that makes us more comfortable, we'll give ourselves a hug. So either one crosses over, grabbing wherever we can grab, and we'll side bend. So just like we did in our core work, the right side of the body is going to shorten. We'll side bend to the right. And you can let the neck go with it or stay neutral, and then bring it up. Long spine, like we're lifting up through the crown of the head. Now we shorten the left side of the body. Let's side bend left. And then bring it back up, and you're just going to keep going side bending. Any pace. You can keep the head neutral and aligned, or let it side bend with the rest of the spine if that feels good. Okay, we're coming into a side sit. If that's not available, you could try to do this cross-legged still, but we'll try coming into a side sit on this right hip. So both knees are bent. I'm going to take the block or whatever we've got and put it under this right hand, but the shoulder is not over the wrist like it normally is. We're going to have the hand further away. Now, right hand or left hand, sorry, can come over to this right side of the body. We're going to start kind of leaning into this right shoulder, not quite sinking, but we're leaning into this right side, and our right side of the ribs is kind of sinking down to the ground. Now, push the hand into the block, like we're pushing the block away or the ground away. Lift back up to that starting position. We lean into that right shoulder. The right side of the ribs is kind of sinking down to the ground. And then we push the ground away. So you can, if you can find that scapula around the back, you can feel that movement here. But this is great to free up tissue on that right side body. Again, it all connects to the nape of the neck. So we'll be doing a lot of side body stretching, side body movements. One more. Go as slow as you need. And maybe we hold here in this position, kind of leaning into the right shoulder. If it feels all right, do a little movement with the neck, maybe left ear to the shoulder if that feels nice, kind of continuing this side bend. Now push the ground away. We're heading to quadruped. Couple options here. You can be in a regular quadruped, shoulders over the wrist, hips over the knees. Or today our special movement is we're going to put the block horizontally and land that right forearm on the block, left hand on the ground under the shoulder. So a little bit of a different setup here. Lift the ribs, lift the belly to maintain our triple S, working on some hip internal rotation. I like to keep my toes tucked under here, and we're just going to internally rotate. So left foot taps out to the left, we internally rotate, and then it slides back in. Right foot slides or kind of taps out to the right, and then bring it back in. So if I'm facing away from you guys, it looks like this if we're in that forearm position. So this is internal rotation of the femur or of the hip. The thigh bone's rolling in, but we're trying not to move anywhere else. So notice if you're moving kind of a lot in the side body, we're not side bending here. We're trying to stay really neutral in the spine. Okay, returning to our side sit. So now we're going to sit on that left hip. So I'll just flip around. Block comes under that left hand, and it's not right under the shoulder because we're not weight bearing here. So if we were weight bearing, I would usually ask that the shoulder's over the wrist, but this is not about weight bearing right now. This is about a fascia thing. So we're getting into some of this fascia on the side body, and we lean into that left shoulder. Let the ribs kind of sink down as much as it feels comfortable, and then push the ground away. So we're kind of leaning into that left shoulder, and then push away. You could do this really slowly. It's almost like a scrub of the tissue back here, so you might feel some little adjustments or things moving around. Maintain that kind of deep breath here. We want to make sure we're not tensing the jaw. And we'll hold in this position, leaning into that left shoulder. If it feels okay to let the neck move with it, maybe the right ear starts to drop toward the right shoulder. Think about breathing directly into that left side. All right, push the ground away, coming back to quadruped. Same options here, regular quadruped, shoulders over your wrist, or block comes horizontally and we land the left forearm on it. Right hand is still under the right shoulder. Lift the front body to maintain your neutral spine. And again, we'll rotate one hip at a time. And the goal is to not move the pelvis. So a couple things to look for as we do this. We're trying not to wag the hips side to side. Hips are staying still. The thigh bone is going to roll in, internal rotation, one at a time. And we also want to make sure we're not tipping the pelvis forward and back. So keep a feeling of balancing something on your low back. All right, coming up, quadruped. You're welcome to do anything you want with your hands as we cat-cow. So if you want to give your wrists a break, you could turn fingers out to the side. You could come over into some wrist flexion. You could be on fingertips. Customize this in whatever way feels good. We'll head to a child's pose and feel free to grab the block and place it under the forehead. So if child's pose is not something that feels good in your body, puppy pose is always an option, keeping the hips higher, less flexion of the hips and the knees. You could be even higher. Or if you want to sit all the way back and bring the forehead to the block, you can allow the forehead to rock side to side on the block. This is nice to release some tension at the front of the head, right around that brow line, like hold a little bit of tension in between the eyebrows. Okay, we're going to come to the front of the mat and get started with our sun salutation. So if you want to have a block nearby, you can. And we'll do a gentle version of this. So reach the arms forward and up, stay long through the back of the neck, lift those armpits way up toward the ears. Keep ears over the shoulders as we hinge. Long in the spine, our right foot steps back, we lower the knee and the top of the foot into our 90-90. Lifting up here, let's feel ears aligned over the shoulders, shoulders over the ribs, ribs over the pelvis. Right foot's got a little firmness as we roll the shoulders. One shoulder rolls back at a time. And again, let the neck move in any way that feels good, releasing any tension. It might sound a little crunchy. Hands will come down, quadruped. Cat-cow, any pace that feels good. Getting into that spinal flexion and extension. From your cat-cow, we'll step the right foot forward, 90-90. Keep the left toes untucked and we'll lift up. Same thing, picture that broom behind you, left glutes firm. Let's roll the shoulders. One rolls back at a time. Get as much movement in the scapula, the shoulder blades as you can, but hold that pelvis steady. Hands can come forward or to your blocks. Left foot steps forward to meet the right, bent knee forward fold, we rise up. Lift those shoulder blades way up. Keep the ears over the shoulders as we hinge, long in the spine. Now we step the left foot back, lower the knee but not the toes. So this time they stay tucked under, we lift up, ears over the shoulders, ribs over the pelvis, firm that left glute, hands behind the skull. Let's really align the neck. We're gonna side bend to the right. So we've been practicing this, shortening the right side of the body, lateral flexion, like you're trying to cinch up the right side of your body to make it smaller or shorter, not smaller, just shorter. One more time. Hands come down, cat-cow. Let's pause for a moment, tucking the toes, down dog. Lift those hip creases up, press into the fingers, and let's just let the head release for a moment. You can gently nod it yes and no. Lower the knees as you exhale, coming back to quadruped. Left foot steps forward, right toes stay tucked in our 90-90. Lift up here, find that same neutral alignment, hands behind the skull. Now keep the ribs in so they're not popping forward. We side bend, so the left side of our body gets shorter. We cinch that left side and then lift back up. So we're side bending, but the focus is actually on this side. Usually we're focused on the stretch of the right side, but let's think about getting this action from shortening the left side of the body. So using those side core muscles. One more. Hands come forward or to your blocks. Let's step the right foot forward to meet the left. Bent knee forward fold. Press the ground away. Let's rise up. And we'll start our sequence. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Spine stays long. Right foot steps back. We lower the knee, but not the toes. Lift up. Find that neutral here. This time we hug ourselves. So just like we did seated, now we rotate. So turn the ribs to the left, any amount, and bring it back. Turn the ribs to the left and bring it back. So we're turning toward that front leg. We're hopefully holding that right glute really firm and active so the pelvis doesn't turn with it. And what that allows is for this really nice fascial pull on the right side as we get this rotation away from that right leg. Back to the front, hands come down, three-legged quadruped, left leg extends back, lift the front body up to feel that triple S. Let's flex and extend this left hip. So we'll pull it forward, hip flexion, extend it back, hip extension. Hopefully we're keeping that right thigh bone really still. Good, left knee comes down. We're doing some rolling quadruped. So step your right foot out to the right any amount, like you're turning the toes out. Right arm is gonna sweep up toward the front of the mat. We step it back to quadruped. Left foot steps out to the left. We sweep that left arm up and around or up and over. Now, if this is just not happening on the hips today or doesn't feel good, you're just gonna sweep the arm up and over and alternate that. Rolling quadruped with an arm sweep. Lovely way to mobilize the shoulders. You're getting some nice movement for the spine. Or keep it going with the hips. Right foot will step forward. Modified twisted crescent. Left hand is welcome to come to a block. Turn your ribs to the right without turning the low back. Let the neck release if that feels good. Right arm floats up. Let's just roll this right wrist. Breathing into the ribs. Letting the neck drip down if that feels good. Bring it down for quadruped. We'll cat-cow. Any pace. Down dog. Tuck the toes. Lift from the hip creases to get you up into your down dog. Lift the ribs up. Press into the fingers. Let the neck release. Get a little traction for the base of the skull. Keep that lift of the hip creases as you walk the hands back for happy squat. Push the ground away. Let's rise up with a long spine. We'll do a little side bend walk forward. So our right foot will step forward, pelvis stays neutral, left arm comes up and we side bend. Keep the ribs from popping forward. Step the left foot forward, right arm up. We side bend to the left. We're just gonna walk our way forward. Getting this nice stretch along the side seam of the body. And when we make it to the front, we'll do that on the other side. So we'll find triple S, knees stay soft, arms reach forward and up, lift, lift, lift the shoulder blades, hinge at the hips, left foot steps back, lower the knee, not the toes. We lift up, find triple S, pause here, give yourself a hug and let's rotate. So we turn the ribs, but not the pelvis, and we bring it back. Firm that left glute, turn the ribs to the right, and bring it back. So it's all about the stability of what's happening here and getting this rotation on top of our very fixed lower body. So we get this really nice pull around the area between the ribs and the pelvis. Really do your best to keep ears over the shoulders at neck alignment. Hands come down, three-legged quadruped, right leg back. Keep lifting from the front of the throat up, lifting the belly, and we'll flex and extend the right hip. Moving at any pace. Try to keep the head as still as you can, keeping that neck alignment. The nape of the neck is open. Knee comes back in for quadruped, rolling quadruped. So maybe we're doing the arm sweep, alternating the arms, or we're adding the hips, stepping the foot out, a little external rotation. And something that helps with this is to have two blocks under the hands or a stack of books under the hands. And it really helps you find that space here along the side body. So we get this nice mobilization. Our left foot will step forward for modified twisted crescent. Right hand can be on the block. Turn from the ribs. Let that ear drip down if it feels good. Really strong in that left shoulder. Right arm comes up and we circle the wrist. Quadruped. Cat-cow a couple times. You can be very gentle with the head and neck in your cat-cow if that's better. Down dog for a moment, tuck the toes. We lift up from the hip creases as we press the fingers into the ground. Hands walk back toward the feet for happy squat. Our heels are loaded in that dorsiflexion, hinging at the hips. Press the ground away and let's rise up. Side bend, walk forward, left foot forward, right arm up. I like to keep my hands on the ribs to make sure that I don't arch my back as I do this, but you can put the hand anywhere or nowhere.